going to tell you why doing more inner work is keeping you stuck. My name is Jackson, and I work with growth-led leaders who are looking to refine how they can get even better at the work that they do and the way that they show up in their life, that they can step more into their deep alignment in who they are and their truth, and be able to more integrate what is the actual work. Now, what I'm going to break down very slowly is deep diving into how this is potentially getting in your way as opposed to serving you continuously. I've got my cacao, I've got my whiteboard, and we're going to get into it. So if you are someone that knows a lot, that's been here for a while, you understand therapy, you understand coaching, you get the mindset work, you maybe even have that spiritual side of things, you look after yourself, and you're really attentive to how you want to show up in the world, then it's likely that you've done a lot of inner work. You've done the time or some time internally, reflecting, getting really clear on maybe what you can then see, the awareness piece. So it means you've done a lot of reading. It means that you've probably subscribed to a few courses. It means you might have had therapy or coaching, or done some breath work, some ice baths, been a part of community. All of that is great. And what tends to happen, because I've been there too, is we want to know what's next. I'm about to finish up with another container with a different coach. I kind of try out quite a few. And we've been working more energetically and sort of the level that I feel like I'm at. And it's more work, right? It's doing more. And this is kind of what I want to start to break down. Is that if I'm not careful, I've got to really see who's leading me forward to doing more inner work. What is it that I'm called to, that I feel like I need more? This is what I'm going to break down. If you've done a lot of the inner work, what's likely going on is you've got a lot of insight. Insight and awareness is not equal to embodiment. Embodiment is something that makes sense, that comes with the more that we know, but it's actually not landed. It doesn't necessarily mean we've put it into place, being able to actually live some of the deeper learning that we've done. So if insight doesn't equal embodiment, then what's going to happen is we are going to have this loop happen again and again and again and again. The self-aware loop means that you know what your wounds are. You might have done some of that deeper inner child work. You might now know in the day-to-day, in your present, what is it that triggers you. You might have understood the nervous system and what makes you tip over the edge, what makes you shut down. The fight, the flight, the freeze, the ability to regulate your emotions. You are aware. I look at awareness, and I say this in a lot of my videos on trauma and deepening our leadership in who's going to come forward as the authentic self, is awareness is like turning on the light and then seeing what's in the room. Whiteboard, frame, fiddle leaf, coffee, couch. Now I know. Now I can see. How amazing. The light's on. I can finally see what's in the room. What's missing is I don't know what to do with it. I know what it all looks like. I even know how it's going to move and operate. I know what might happen if I do things a certain way, that then it will have an impact on me. It will trigger me. It will get under my skin. What I then do is maybe how to get out of it eventually. Maybe I then question, well, I know this is happening. What allows it to be removed? How do I make the shift happen? How do I move this whiteboard so it no longer is in my way or no longer helping me be burdened? Right? So for me, it's just this loop. The light's on, the thing happened again. Sometimes, one of my clients said that awareness is like looking through a double-sided mirror where you are watching you be interrogated. They said, why did you do the thing again? And you're going to do this again? And they go, yes. And then they do the thing again. So it's like I'm banging on the glass being like, don't say it, don't do it, don't think it. I can see what's about to happen and then loop. The pattern repeats itself. So awareness is great. Lots of insight. It's not embodied because that guy on the other side of the double-edged mirror is none the wiser. Sometimes ignorance is bliss. Sometimes awareness is like a double-edged sword. You'll get used to the amount of analogies that I have. But awareness like a double-edged sword is so good that we can finally see. And it's so good that I can really go and maybe make moves and shifts and transform because of this. But now I'm really aware of all my shit. So we get in this loop. Nothing quite changes with just insight. Nothing quite transforms itself, shifts itself with just awareness. It's about action. It's about what do I now need to be with? And this is what I'm going to deep dive into. So I work with a lot of leaders, a lot of therapists, coaches that are doing the work and holding space with a lot of trauma. And that means that they walk this path with just as much shit as the rest of us. They're just doing it at a level where they then can help and serve others too. So still human after all with all of their shit. For what is so common is that they come to me, they want to do one of my programs called Authenticate, which is really about authenticate, really making them feel more authentic in the way that they show up, in the way that they deliver. So it's an authentication process so that they can feel confident in the work that they do, more refined, more aligned, and more integrated. Now, what they come to me with is like, I feel like I need to study more. I feel like I need to learn more. I feel like I need to do the next course, be in the next thing, work on the next thing, go to the next retreat, have my next big breathwork session. And they all come looking for guidance. And I say, why? What will that do? Even halfway through the program, they're like, what do I need to do for homework? What more can I learn? What would you recommend that I now do? And I always get really curious about that. I go, well, what's this about? What's going on underneath for them? Who's running the show? Because an authentic self, a true self, the parent within, the adult within that's functional, can they sit and actually say, based on everything that I've absorbed, everything that I've now learned, do I feel like I've got it? Is there a difference between what I know and then what's fully feeling embodied embody being how I get to live it rather than do it. It's the difference between doing the work and living the work, being the work. So when this question comes back up, what more should I do? What should I do next? I go, which part of you is showing up that thinks they need to do more? Now I'm a big fucking mirror. So I am a mirror for my clients, but I also are a mirror to me. So my supervisors and my therapists have said the same thing to me, where it's like, what part of you feels like you need to do more? What part of you feels like there's more to do in terms of learning, in terms of processing, in terms of unlocking and finding more that I would then be able to change again? So, okay, which part of me is showing up? And what happens a lot of the time, and what I'm going to move into, is the part of me that's showing up is the part of me that thinks they need to do more. The part of me that needs to really get it, right? The part of me that shows up in that way, and I know this has happened many times in my business when I work with my business coach, it's like, yeah, but I need to know the techniques, the processes, the materials, the how, then how do I execute it, what do I need to map out, structure, routine, plan, implement, right? I need to make sure I get it. So I'm asking for it to be explained in 10 different ways, as opposed to, I get it. As opposed to just, I understand. Because a lot of the time I do understand. If I pause enough, I do understand. But I want to keep understanding, make sure I understand. You see the difference? This is who's leading. So the part of you that wants to do more inner work, and why we keep getting stuck, is because they, from the perspective of this part, this protective mechanism that rolls in within me, the adaptive parts of me, protecting the wounded, more vulnerable parts of me, shows up and says, we need to do more work because we need to be able to make sure that we're covered on all bases. And I'm going to break down which archetypes that can show up as and what the intention behind it is. But why do we get stuck? We're doing more. It's because we have the adapted part. I like to call this part the teenager, right? Because if we got our wounded child, we got our wounds that they are less than, too vulnerable, and very, very dependent, that we then learn how do we adapt? How do we make sure that we can stay protected and defended? So the teen, an adapted adult, the best version that they think an adult should look like, but whilst they're still a child, is this teenager. So the teen energy, right? And they show up in many different ways, as you might understand with parts work. But it's the adapted part that's showing up. They want more. They want to overdo. So, can you start to see where it's getting us stuck? Is that the only equation that they're running is unless we find more, the next thing, always doing, then we are in risk. We are in lack. We are in less than. And worse is if our worth is in question, then of course we're always going to go, what's next? What more do I need to do? I'm hoping this is starting to make sense, because we all have these parts within us. And the guy that wants to do more work can show up in many different ways. So I'm going to describe it one by one. Start with the fixer. The fixer wants more tools, more resources. The more resources we have, the more ability we have to fix. What is it that we need to be fixing? A lot of the time, the more that we are in this fixer adaptive the more that we are potentially able to fix the worth issue that we have. We're compensating. The more tools that I have to make sure that I'm never going to lose my worth. So I need to make sure that I fix the problem that I have, because I never want me to be in question. So the fixer is very determined to over-function, to keep going, to doing more. The more the fixer can do, the less that there'll ever be a problem. The fixer can show up in many different ways. The fixer might be trying to fix their relationship, trying to fix their business issue, trying to fix the gap of knowledge that they have. They do that through gathering tools. So the perspective that I want us to look at this through is, he's very good at what he does, or she. The fixer is determined, very, very, very skilled at being able to find solutions. So driven by the idea of what we can do to solve problems, to decide how we're going to do this and what we're going to use in order to do this. I'm going to say do a lot more, because this is what it's all about. More, do, and over. This is the fixer. Let's move into the controller. The controller wants to do more thinking. They want to overthink the solution, because the more that they can overthink what's going on, the more that they might create safety. So the more inner work that I do, the more that I'll be able to understand, the more that I can then think through my problems, intellectualize this so that there's a felt sense in a way of deep meaning. I've had a lot of meaning making in being able to now fully get it. Do you see how I'm somatically controlling the situation? I sit in all three of these, by the way, but when I'm in my controller, I'm constantly trying to overthink the way to making sure everything can be okay. The controller is so determined to do more understanding, because then they'll get it. Anxiety, if we look at anxiety is best managed by controlling the situation. That doesn't mean it's functional, but it is the best. Because if I can control my anxiety, I can control my fear. If I can control my fear, I'll ultimately be safe, and therefore I protected myself. Here comes the controller. That controller runs the show and has to run the show. Because if we take that away, what are they left with? One of the biggest things that my clients tackle, one of the biggest things that I tackle, you take my control away and I'm powerless. But if I'm powerless, I'm out of control. And what's at risk? I'm not protected, I'm not safe. So again, you can see how I'm starting to paint a really big picture. Thank God these guys are around, because from their perspective, it's the only thing that's allowing us to stay safe from their perspective. So they have a very positive intention. The more I control, the more I can think about the situation, the more that we're going to be able to make sure that everyone's safe. Very anxious. What that does to the body to constantly grip, tense, compulse, right? It's hard to keep being in that. So there's consequences to staying. But it's all for the greater good. What we don't see a lot is the consequences, the cost of continuing to do this. Again, come back up to here. Can we see how that might be keeping us stuck? Because I'm always running, always stepping forward, always going, always going, always going, always doing. I've got to go more. I've got to overdo it. I've got to overcommit. I'm stuck in this loop. Next. I won't jump the gun, but I was going to circle something, but I'll just do the last one. Then we've got the achiever. Welcome in perfection, right? We can do the perfect as well. But the achiever wants more effort to be put in. Effort, effort, effort. The more effort, the more we potentially have that we can achieve. The more achieved that we are, the more okay we are, because we're done. We've gotten to a place of do, then done. So it's a never-ending hamster wheel of effort in order to get to this imaginary, non-existent done. This perfection that does not exist is this driver that is, I have to do this. I'm so driven by the pressure of making sure we can perfectly and effortfully make sure things are done. Because what then happens to them if they're able to achieve this is nothing's in question. I accomplished. I am successful. I am adequate. I am enough. All these things become the reason why we're doing it. These protectors are there to ensure that the system stays safe. But for the teenager adapted parts thinking, in all these archetypes, doesn't matter what archetype it is, their role is to keep the system safe. They just don't have another perspective. The achiever doesn't think about fixing. The controller doesn't think about achieving, right? The controller is just focused on controlling. That's their way. And then the achiever steps in and be like, well, if we tried effort, you know? And then the fixer's like, I've got an idea. Here's the toolbox. I know all these resources and all these tools. And maybe they're fighting to have say so that they become this embodied essence. Now, if we look at embodiment through this lens, I can fully embody the controller because I'm so good at it. I've been doing it for years. I've been doing the controller so much longer than I've been doing my functional, authentic self. Because I had to. This is the adaptation. This is what I had to do in order to survive. So if these are so invested, committed to the cause of keeping the whole system safe, then they will keep looping and keep looping and keep looping and keep looping and keep looping, gaining more insight, gaining more awareness, and being able to find the solution, which is safety, which is their worth is still intact, which is they never have to face their fear or their shame. So what do? If this is going on underneath the surface, we're gonna keep doing more work. We've got to. It's the only way. But what if it's not? What if you start to truly check in and really assess, is this what we need? Can we fact check and reality check with the teen and be like, how's this working out for you? The wounded child probably needs a lot more nurture and comfort. Needs an ability to see them and hear them in a certain way in their less than small experience. But the teenager, depending on which characteristics they're demonstrating, which parts that they're in, controller, the perfectionist, the rebel, the chameleon, the people pleaser, then we've got to meet them on their level. So it really changes how we need to show up for them. I don't know if you've ever worked with a teenager before, but they think you're shit. They think you're lame. They think that you're wrong. So how would I even get a word in edgewise, right? This is the work. This is why we are stuck. Because I don't know how to be with that guy. I don't know how to get him to understand that we're good, man. We don't need to control this. What ends up happening, this is really sad, and it breaks my heart, and I work with this with every single person that I work with, is that the way that we, the functional adult, the functional, authentic, true me, deals with this adaptions when it comes forward is with shame, with a lack of compassion, with an annoyance, with a frustration, with this, potentially exiling them from existence. I don't like that you constantly put in so much effort because it pushes us more towards burnout. We can't keep doing this to ourselves. I wish I didn't have to be so perfect. We're annoyed by it. Control, it's like, oh, fuck, you controlled again and it really impacted your relationship. It's like, oh, I hate that I do this. The angry part of me, whatever it is, the fixer, it's like, oh, I keep fixing everybody else but not myself. I keep people pleasing, so I'm not able to kind of just rest and go, what do I need? Set boundaries, what it might be. So then we get annoyed by it. So the relationship that we have with this little teenager is negative. How can we ever expect to become unstuck if the way that we show up with the parts of us that are so strong in their intention to fight, to achieve, to control, to fix the experience that ultimately they want, which is to be not shamed. If we deal with them with shame, what do you think they're going to keep doing? They're going to keep showing up in exactly the same way. And then you just think that that's bad. So it becomes secretive. It becomes wrong. It reinforces the shame that they're trying to avoid the most. So we either enable them, or we'll just let him control. This is what he's like. This is just part of who he is. Oh, we'll shame him. I hate that I do this. Right? Reinforcing the stuckness. We can't move through quicksand. We'll sink more. Sometimes we have to stay, try and understand, slow things down. So, where do we go? How do we change this? Where is the work to be done? Before you do your next course, before you do your next program, before you jump into another therapist or coach or mindset work or even breath work, trying to find a solution to something. A solution to something that you already have. Let's try this instead. What the fixer really needs is, instead of fixing and gaining more tools, they need to do more listening, which is a tool. It's a resource. We need to listen. We need to listen to what might not be broken, so I might not need to fix it. We need to listen as an adult to this teenager that's so convinced that we need to fix. You can see how this might just go, we don't need to do more. We don't need to overdo. Maybe we just need to listen. What I mean by listen is being able to get to a point where I just am trying to understand what's going on, rather than try to do something about it. Try and fix it. I want to sit with it. Through listening, observing, witnessing, being. Very different to doing, very different to more, over. Right? Listen. The controller, who's the thinker, needs to do less thinking and more, you named it, you guessed it, feeling. They need to move from their head into their heart. They need to find a way to not have to keep going up here for the answer. So many of my clients, I'll say, how do you feel? And they'll go, they'll look up here like the answer's somehow in the sky, somehow in the top of the dome. It's not. It's down here. What does it feel like? What's it feel like to have to control? Is there a way that I can soften? Think about control. It makes my shoulders tight just thinking about it. It's contracted. What if I feel into that and just allow an exhale, even just a posture change? This is really tense. Trying to do this is friction, tense, tight. I don't know if I want to feel that. What would it feel like to just drop, let it go, surrender? Control's terrified of that, right? But through our help, through our reparenting, through our ability to show up for the parts of me that are just trying to keep us safe, to sit with them and go, this must feel awful. This does feel awful. And it's just like, yeah, it does. And then it will move. They'll want to go. They want to go and do. They want to go and fix. They want to go and achieve the problem that takes the pain away. And we stay. Last one is the achiever. The achiever is all about effort. All about effort. What do you think they need? Effortlessness. I look at it yin and yang. My life, generally, is filled with effort. Now, it's not really run by the achiever, but it's still filled with effort. Effort without effortlessness is exhausting. There's no space. There's no stillness, pausing, stopping, effortlessness. The true release is being able to not have to. It's to not need to. Hard bit of medicine for them to take. But what it creates is presence. And with presence, we have integration. If you've done a lot of work, you might have heard about the word integration. It means, how do I make sense of what I've just done? How do I implement it into my life so it is less known and more with? It's more being instead of doing. It's being actually to allow it, to give permission for it to be here, now, presence. These guys aren't present. They're focused, they're determined, they're driven, they've got missions, and only positive intentions, but they're not present. See how I can get us stuck? If I'm not present, I'm going to keep hitting the block. I'm going to keep hitting the wall. But if I do more inner work, I'll be able to find the answer. But the answer's in presence, which I can't be present. So I get stuck again. I'll do more inner work. The inner work isn't leading me to more presence. It's giving me all the tools to do it. It's giving me all the thoughts that I have in the world to do it. It's even giving me all the effort I need to put in to make sure that I understand it. Inside. But no embodiment. No felt sense. No lived. No truth. This is integration. Integration is about embodiment. And we don't need to be stuck. We'll keep going back there, because it's like, oh, this was easier and safer when I could control everything. Totally, it happens to me fucking weekly. Way more than weekly. The amount of times I want to go in and control instead of just going, let go, surrender. It's not easy. These guys need my back. These guys need a parent. These guys need an adult that are going to help them go, it's going to be okay because I've got you. Through that presence, through that ability to have that listening, observing, witnessing, felt sense, embodiment, somatic experience of our sensations and noticing what's actually happening physiologically, the ability to just pause effortlessly, stillness will give us integration. You don't need to do more work if you haven't integrated the work that you've already done. And the reason you have not integrated, because this guy wants to do more, and then we'll integrate. But that integration is this loop. We will never do the integration because we'll always be going, what's next? What's next? What's week 2? What's week 3? What's the next guy? What's the next retreat? How do I do more? And then a whole different story around the people that needed to be big, bang, cathartic, massive, process my trauma, deliver this big exorcism of fucking work, big breathwork session, big ice bath session, put me completely out of my nervous system in order to heal. It's fucking rubbish. Are you present? Does that make you embodied after the fact? Or just like, I'm feeling my body now, I'm in an ice bath, I'm feeling my body now, I'm having an exorcism through my breath work. Where's the integration? Where's the presence after? Where's the embodiment of actually living the experience moving forward? What if your next bit of work is just to be, not to do? What if the next bit of work is landing from the last bit of work that you did? My self-worth model deeply connects to this in a way that we can unpack in an intensive way this ability to go, this is all the scaffolding and the foundation that you need, and then we're good. Then it's just maintenance, baby. We just keep beautifully allowing for maintenance. Parenting it never stops. We'll always be a parent once we're a parent. But I'm saying we already are a parent. We have our wounds. We have a wounded child, we have the adaptation that didn't want to be wounded, now our teenager. It's time to walk. It's time to walk with them, listen to them, feel with them, sit with them. This is what creates the most transformation. And from that transformation, that shift, that noticing, that difference, then we allow it to land. And that's the integration. If you are interested in doing that in that way, through that deep alignment and refinement and integration work, you can do my scorecard and see who's leading, or you can come and work with me. You can do a 30-minute call for free, deep dive on some of this stuff, and work in some of my programs to help you find your worth and find your way home to be able to show up for all of you. I'll see you next time.